Not one, not two, not three, but 4 reviews in a row. Have I given up on gaming for good? No, I'm just having too much fun covering these episodes, and these videos are performing a lot better than I thought they would. So we're gonna ride this train until episode goddamn 7. I'm actually really excited to break this one down. It wasn't perfect, but despite it having a couple iffy parts, it did some good, important things that I just wanted to cover with you today. So unfortunately in this one there's not going to be any seething hatred like the last 3 reviews, but I'm going to be real with you. This show needed a breather, and so did I. If episode 4 sucked like the last one did, you wouldn't be getting a review, because I would be in the emergency room. I know this video is fashionably late to the party as a new episode comes out tomorrow, but I want you to know that I did everything in my power to get this review out ASAP. I was just held up a little bit, busy doing very important, productive things.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
Up until episode 4, it was like the writer was trying to see how many rubber bands would fit around my head before it popped like a watermelon. And being up to about 100, episode 4 took off at least 10 of those rubber bands. Despite my head still pulsing with blood, we're seemingly stepping into the right direction. However, I'm not going to get too excited because this show still has 3 more episodes, one of which will be again directed by Robert Rodriguez. And due to this fact, I've arranged to be transported to the hospital for that episode's viewing, because I know for a cosmic fact something mind-splittingly stupid will happen again, which could very well be the harpoon to ice the camel's back, so better safe than sorry. So without further ado, let's dive schnoz first into an episode that came out nearly a week ago. I'm gonna be faster next time, guys, I promise. It starts out by zooming in on Boba's face in the Bacta tank for like the 42nd time in the series. And at this point, I think we've all been conditioned to expect a flashback sequence. Me not exactly enjoying any flashback sequence thus far, my feet were already 9 inches down my throat. But what really helped me get calm is knowing that this episode was directed by the same dude who made Glee 3D the concert movie, and of course the critically acclaimed You Got Served.
What the fuck?
Doing research before this episode had me expecting another train wreck, but let's hold the horsecock because in the first 10 minutes or so, Kevin delivers with some really good things. We get taken into flashback land and we see Boba scout out the perimeter of Jabba's palace, sizing up the density of its guard. He wants to get Slave 1 back, but even he admits to himself that there's just too much security, maybe another day. And on the same night, we get a tie-in with that one episode in The Mandalorian, where Fennec got outplayed to an embarrassing degree and was essentially left for dead. And in that episode's post-credits scene, we saw somebody approach her unconscious body and we all thought it was Boba then. But now, we're one step closer to figuring out who it really was. He turns her over and is like, still warm. No, he turns her over and recognizes her immediately. A top-of-the-line bounty hunter, with hypothetically the skill he needs to infiltrate Jabba's palace and get his ship back. I like the inclusion at the beginning of the episode tied in with Fennec's rescue, because it's showing Boba making the most out of his situation. He's not saving her out of the goodness of his heart. He wants to be fully operational again, and it tells you this without throwing it in your face. He takes Fennec to a modification den where the people here look somewhat like the Power Rangers from the last episode, but it doesn't dwell on it for too long, so it gets away with it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're not being told that they're completely broke and can't find a job. They also kept their outfits more respectful to the setting, had a lot less strong color choices than the last gang, which works so much better here, and doesn't take you out of that Tatooine vibe too much. He comes up on a worker giving a goth chick the Octavius inhibitor chip, and demands that Fennec see treatment immediately. Upgrade guy basically tells him to fuck off, but Boba stays calm and offers a fat wad of cash, to which he accepts.
Well, you should have started with that.
Even though it's subtle, we're getting much better resistance between characters than the last 3 episodes, which helps 3-dimensionalize both characters, however small that increase may be. We get a cool cyber montage, and in a jiffy, the whole operation is complete. No blood or problems to be had, despite this dude replacing her entire stomach with metal pipes. It's also pretty nuts that Boba was able to carry her through the Dune Sea to a conveniently placed cyber organ transplant specialist and had enough credits lying around without ever being paid by anyone on screen.
Yet.
But this is Star Wars, so if I focus on convenience and realism to this degree, we'll be here for a while, so let's just move on. Fennec wakes up to Boba, the Bantha, and a nice cozy fire. I thought that this scene was really well done. Boba acknowledges who she is, how she has a high bounty on her head, and how he doesn't want to turn her in. He saved her because he's aware of her skill, and in return he wants aid in infiltrating Jabba's palace. But he also goes into detail about how he was rescued by the Sand People, learned their ways, and formed a bond. was welcomed into their tribe. He says that he tried to help them, but instead he got them massacred by the speeder bike gang. He blames himself for what happened, and you can tell that it still haunts him. It feels like exposition to fill in the people who haven't watched the last 3 episodes, but honestly, I think that if you're one of those people, all the better. This could easily have been episode 1. They could have just skipped everything up until this point, and it would have been great, because we're sitting here like, oh shit, what happened to them? We're getting some unusually good delivery from Temuera Morrison, and despite him not having his helmet on right now, he still feels like Boba. In 2 minutes, it fills us in on what happened after the Sarlacc, lets us know how determined Boba is to get his property, his revenge, and establishes mutual respect between the duo. It's already so much better than anything we've gotten before, and no one has moved a muscle yet. It all just flows and makes sense. So Fennec agrees to help, and after that her debt will be over. She probes the palace with the drone tasked with finding Slave 1, and while it does its job, they have a nice conversation.
I'm gonna find my armor, and I'm gonna kill that bloated pig who double-crossed me.
Oh, yeah. And he also goes into depth on why he's done bounty hunting. He's tired of working for idiots who are just gonna get him killed, and was also ready to leave it all behind to live among the Tuskens. Now personally, I want a Boba that does bounty hunting, but this explanation was really vital and real good even though it was short. This whole time we've just seen Boba try to play the leader card without getting much reason from the source as to why. I think it would have been way more effective to put this kind of dialogue at episode 1 or even 2. Because it helps us to understand his actions and reasoning a lot more. It makes sense. And again, the delivery from Morrison here is so much better. You can see the pain, thinking, and focus in him. We're getting a 180 on almost every front here. It's fucking exquisite. The drone locates Slave 1 and shows them the number of guards in the palace. They infiltrate and find a chef droid with 6 arms, who has a very familiar fighting stance. And I was sitting there going, oh no. How many YouTubers are going to put Grievous in their thumbnails for this episode now? Fennec disarms the droid and they find Slave 1, which might not have any fuel in it. Could be booby-trapped. The main door might even be locked for the night. I know I said I'd lay off the convenience and realism aspect a little. My bad, guys.
I couldn't help it.
Boba goes to get the ship running while Fennec holds the line all by herself, which didn't feel forced or stupid. Boba Fett wouldn't have saved her life and brought her all this way if she couldn't do a part like this. But surprise, the main door doesn't open, so she takes a blaster and shoots the tiny chain that apparently holds the 200-ton door shut. They get out of Jabba's palace and Fennec decides that she likes what she sees and wants to go along for Boba's ride, becoming his partner in the process. The last 10 minutes have been entertaining, and not only does it make me like Fennec more, but it also heightens the believability of their partnership. Now reunited with Slave 1, Boba finds the biker gang and oh my god, mercy is just not on the menu today. I fucking loved this sequence. It just made me go, They travel to the Sarlacc because, quote, that's where I'll find my armor. Despite him crawling to the surface with it all on and being in an area where scavengers are common, he tilts Slave 1 to go in for a peek. Just a little peek. And what do you know? It's still alive. The side guns can't get a shot off on it. So Fennec, knowing where every button is in a ship she's never been in, decides to deploy a seismic charge, which conveniently didn't just fall to the side of the pit like it's supposed to, but falls directly into the Sarlacc's mouth. Thanks, physics. But after eating a goddamn seismic charge, it's safe to say that the Sarlacc is dead. Just a hunch. He doesn't find the armor and instead camps out with Fennec for the night, where he talks about how his past leaders were idiots, that he and her are much smarter and could form a greater crime syndicate. He pledges his life to protect hers, and she tells him that living with the Tuskens has made him a pussy, to which he says,
You can only get so far without a tribe.
Family, 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 family.
Which makes sense if you're trying to successfully run a criminal empire. But after this, we jump to the present, and I think it's safe to say that the flashbacks are over. We're finally all caught up, and despite us being 34 minutes into this episode, it's felt more like 10 because it's been pretty decent so far. A very well done flashback sequence. If only Kevin had creative control over the other ones too. Boba wants to go on patrol and shop for new gang members, but Fennec says,
You sure that's a good idea? War could break out any day.
Power hates a vacuum.
But so does my dog.
We then get a bar scene where we get a casual display of racism from Black Chrysanthemum. He almost kills this cute fucker, but Twi'lek woman comes out to tell Chris Hansen that the sun's getting real low. And right when Chris seems to be calm, he rips off the Trandoshan's arm. So this guy, tried harder to kill some random lizard in a bar than he did Boba, who was his high-priced bounty. Fuck off. But after the Wookiee leaves, Boba follows him and gives him the same treatment he gave to the Power Rangers from last episode. You got guts, kid. Why don't you come work for me? And for the final scene, we get a political interaction between Boba and the sector leaders. He offers an alliance to unite against the Pikes, who he believes threaten the planet's future. And they're like, bitch, we heavily profit from the Pikes and their spice. What's stopping us from putting our Glocks up your ass and taking what we want? Which is a fair question, to which the Rancor jump scares the entire table. And again, on the topic of, if this were the first episode we'd have gotten, this would have been a much cooler moment. Wait, the Rancor is still alive? Did Boba tame it? Can he ride it? It's cool for what it is, but it would have been a little bit more effective if we didn't get the Rancor sequence from last episode. At least that's what I feel. But he doesn't threaten them. He proposes that they all join forces to shaft the Pikes. And they say, oh, this is your fight. This has nothing to do with us. Boba then proclaims that he'll fight this battle on his own, that he'll make Tatooine safe again. And all that he asks is that they remain neutral when shit hits the fan, to which they say is a fair agreement. And with that, the episode ties the bow with Boba saying that they need to prepare. They need to do some heavy recruiting. And Fennec is basically like, I know a guy. And the Mandalorian's theme plays. Gee, I wonder what that could mean. Ahsoka? No, but despite some iffy parts, I really did enjoy this episode. And with the estimation that we're done with flashback sequences, things seem to be heading in a cool direction. The steam is being picked up, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited for next week's episode. Or this week's, fuck me. We're 4 episodes in, and it should be popping off a lot more. But in comparison to what we've been getting so far, it's definitely a welcome addition to this season's lineup. It didn't make Boba look weak or super dumb. Fennec was done well, and for the most part it made sense. The pieces fit. The humor wasn't too over the top. It was well acted, and to me it felt more like Tatooine than the previous episodes. Alright, that's all I've got today. I'll see you guys very soon.